Hello, good morning, good evening, good night. Um, when it comes to gel manicures, these are the most desirable service within the salon. Everyone's coming in, men and women, to do a gel manicure. So this is what you see me doing here. This is going to be a man's dry manicure. He has already had gel polish from the last time I did his nails, so now you're just going to see me taking off the old polish, which was just clear. So it's just top coat, base coat, and that's it. Majority of this is just going to be prep work as I'm going. I like using the sanding bands because I use that to push back the cuticle and take off the shine of the natural nail plate. When I'm using the drill though, I do make sure that it's on the absolute lowest speed, which is a 3. I do that because you have to keep in mind it's the natural nail plate. It does not need so much power to cut through any old gel polish, especially on the natural nail. And also getting close to those cuticles, making sure you're kind of pushing them back as you go, getting the corners and the side walls, both side walls, because that's where a lot of your lifting will start, and that's what helps keep that down is clearing that out and making it buffed out. When using a drill bit, with any bit, honestly, the drill can have a cuticle bit, it can have a sanding band like you see here, or even those fine drill bits that are used for acrylic. You want to make sure you're practicing on your clients, keeping it parallel, and the feathering motions. Those two things are going to be the most important. The feathering motion is just making sure you're not always having contact with the natural nail. You're lifting it up, you're lifting it up, putting it back at the top of the cuticle, and brushing it down, and keeping it parallel because you don't want the rings or the divots to come in 2 weeks when you see your new growth because of improper use of your drill bit. This is going to be the feathering I'm talking about and keeping it parallel. Even while I'm trying to get the edges, I mean the corners, keeping it parallel and feathering it out so I'm not staying in one place too long or going into the nail at an angle. That's what's going to create those lines. This part here too, when you go over the sanding band, it's going to leave like an ashy streak. What I started to practice was going over no spot twice. When I learned that, it helped tremendously on keeping things even and keeping things the same level. When I go over the sanding band, I go over the whole nail plate from left to right. Once I see that ashy uh look, I focus on another area that I can still see the like the natural nail oils or just like polish. That is going to be a really big tip because that's going to help with making sure you're not thinning out anyone's nails, not creating any divots or lines, and heat spikes. All this is me doing the client's other hand, taking off that polish, pushing back the cuticles, and then prepping for once I'm finished. This here is going to be the Tammy Taylor's hand sanitizer. I do this to kind of wet up all the nail dust I've created, allow the cuticles to have some alcohol, essentially is what it is, hand sanitizer. It's not just alcohol. Over the nails and the nail dust. On a lint-free wipe, I take some acetone, and the purpose of this is for me to more or less get the nail dust off the hands and the fingers, and then barely skim over it like a dehydrator, essentially, along the nail plate. Cutting cuticles is one of those things that if you know how to do it, do it. If you do not know how to do it, don't do it. It's really that simple. The best thing I can say is practice on yourself. Because once you nick yourself cutting your own cuticles, you'll fully understand a little bit more how careful you have to be, how much pressure you have to apply, and what you're actually looking at to cut so that it won't hurt your client. Once you feel that pain, you'll be more aware of a client's cuticles and how to cut them properly and safely. Another thing, too, is your tools. Your supplies and your implements, they have to work for you. They have to be of your liking. And a lot of the time when we go to the nail supply store, we pick up these brands. What I like to do is try them on yourself first. See how they work. See how they work on clients because every hand is different, every finger is different. So just keep in mind what tools you buy, where you get them from, and then when you find something you like, go back and buy more. Literally, so that you know you have enough. If they stop making them, or if you can't hardly find them again, go back quickly and go get some. And then that way you know you have a tool that you like. It's all trial and error when it comes to supplies, when it comes to nail tips, nail glue, acrylic brushes, monomer. What monomer works with this? It all becomes a trick of the trade because it's a service-based industry. It's person per person, and every hand is different. So you might need different things for different clients because of their nail shape or their cuticle, their matrix. They might have thicker nails. You might need different nail clippers. It goes on and on and on. Files, drill bits, sanding bands. It all depends. So find what works for you and just keep practicing with it because you'll get more and more and more comfortable with it. This is going to be the biggest thing when filing the natural nail at the free edge, either a manicure or a pedicure, going one direction. Taking the file, placing it, sliding it, picking it up, placing it back, sliding it. Going one direction with the file at all points. Not never should you be going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, because the different layers of the nail are going to start to separate because you're not filing them evenly. And that's going to create a lack of longevity with the polish application. And at the side wall, I like to clean it up and make sure I'm getting all the natural oils off no more than a couple of times and really making my round shape that my client wants, just like that. Sometimes leaving hangnails is better. If you can trim them down and get them closer, I would say get them. But please know that with the cuticle um, nipper, you cannot get ingrowns. If you see it ingrown, you need to tell your client that they need to go see a physician to go get this looked at and have it removed. This here really is the best view of me rounding out the nail, buffing down the nail plate, taking off by hand any clear coat, top coat I still see on the nail, making it round, getting around my edges, and still kind of taking the nail down a little bit. You know, the maintenance you do want to make sure in 2 weeks are not so long. So taking off a little bit of that length too, buffing the top to make sure it's ready for nail prep. The Mia Secret Extra Bond D&D base coat, D&D top coat. I have one repair nail, so this is the Born Pretty blooming gel. Primer should go all over the nail, not just at the cuticle. And keeping in mind, you want to keep the primer off of the skin. You want to be diligent with your placement because that's what's going to adhere to the polish. I used to ask myself, why does my polish always flood my fucking cuticles or my sidewalls or it's running everywhere? Um, I'm applying too much. Miss K taught me this. 'Cause I had asked her. I always it's two things. I flood the cuticle. I flood my sidewalls. Or when I got a full set and I do nails with acrylic, I lose my shape of my acrylic application of my filing. Why? You're applying too much polish. You know how Bob Ross used to be like, beat the devil out the brush. You do that to your in the bottle at the top. I tap it back and forth, back and forth. I damn near almost want no polish on there. The first coat is going to be the thinnest coat of base coat you will apply. Personally, I prep one hand at a time. So always when you go with the other hand, make sure you're doing the same thing and applying your primer. Because it's nothing like getting done with a full set and being like, did I prime the other hand once I got over there? And you're already done. Because then they're just going to fall off or they're not going to adhere. The repairing of the nail, it didn't break off. So I'm just taking some nail glue and I'm adhering the nail back down, letting that dry a bit, and then just putting a little blob of hardening gel at the corner. That way it makes it a little bit stronger so when it grows out, we can just file it down in about 4 weeks. I'm just going through the same process here. Base coat, top coat, curing in between each time for 60 seconds. That's it. This is me cleaning up a mess basically. I have some running over into the sidewall, so I just take my file in reverse and slowly peel as close as I can to the sidewall, flushing it out and meeting it with the nail plate as best as possible. After gel manicures, I am the type to clean it up with the file. The sidewalls, the free edge, just because sometimes with gel you lose your shape, you lose how, in this case, it looks round. So I have to go back and make it look round like a manicure. His intrusive thought will kick in 3, 2, 1.